Okay, let's unpack this then. We're diving into what you might call the bedrock of modern UK business. We're talking about the laws, the rules that govern how companies treat their people, their customers, and, well, fundamentally, how they manage the costs of just doing things the right way. This deep dive, it's really designed to give you a fast, pretty comprehensive understanding of that whole legal landscape,
Yeah.
trying to get beyond just the definitions.
Yeah, absolutely. We pulled together a stack of sources, legislation primers, some academic analysis, case studies as well, things that really systematically outline the key legal influences on UK business. And like you said, it's not just about listing acts and dates, it's about synthesizing what's actually required and understanding why compliance isn't just sort of a legal hurdle, but it's actually foundational for a viable long-term business.
Right, so that's the mission here. Pull together the requirements, pin down the rights being protected, and really get why sticking to the rules is, well, a core part of business strategy, maybe even a competitive advantage.
Precisely. So we'll look at three main areas. First, the internal stuff, health and safety, employment law. Second, we'll look outwards at external protections, focusing on consumer rights. And then finally, we'll get practical and break down the whole compliance thing, the costs versus the actual benefits.
Okay, let's start inside the company then. Protecting the workforce seems like a good place, maybe where the risk feels highest. The main bit of law here is the Health and Safety at Work Act, 1974. And this covers employees, but also customers, the public, anyone affected by work activities.
And what's really critical about that 74 Act is it made that duty of care not just a moral thing, but actually a legal, even criminal responsibility. It puts the responsibility squarely on the employer. And the whole system really hinges on one initial process: risk assessment.
Risk assessment. Sounds a bit like paperwork, maybe, but I guess this is where it gets real. Employers have to actively look for hazards, potential problems, and then take, reasonable steps to minimize the risks. What does reasonable actually mean there?
Yeah, reasonable steps. It's a bit subjective, isn't it?
Yeah.
But usually it means following established good practice for your industry. It means proper training, sure, but also making sure equipment is maintained, having clear procedures written down and followed. So, for example, if you've got heavy machinery, a reasonable step isn't just putting guards on it. It's also having logged maintenance schedules and making sure you stick to them rigidly.
Okay. And beyond just assessing risks, you have to actually provide safe conditions. Our sources mention the obvious things like unsafe machinery, harmful substances, fire risks. But does the law push businesses to look at maybe less obvious risks? Things like, stress, mental health, or even long-term repetitive strain.
Oh, absolutely. The idea of what constitutes a hazard has definitely evolved since 1974. And actually, if we link this back to employment law for a second, especially the Equality Act 2010, that duty to assess risk, it extends to things related to protected characteristics too. So say you have a pregnant employee. Your risk assessment has to specifically look at how that temporary change affects their work risks. If you don't adjust things properly, it could be a safety failure and potential discrimination. You see how these laws weave together.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's like a web. So, okay, what happens if things do go wrong? There has to be accountability.
There is. Businesses must record accidents, injuries, and this is crucial, near misses as well. That helps spot patterns and any serious incident that has to be reported to the health and safety executive, the HSE. Failing to report, or maybe worse, failing to show you actually followed your own risk assessment, that's often what leads to those really big fines you read about. Millions sometimes for serious negligence.
But employees have some power here too, right?
They do. And this is fascinating, actually. Employees have the right to refuse work they reasonably believe is unsafe, putting their health or safety at risk. And they can do that without fear of being punished for it. That single provision really helps shift the culture, doesn't it? From just passive compliance to everyone being actively involved in safety, like having safety monitors everywhere.
Okay, moving from physical safety to maybe operational fairness. Let's look at that second internal pillar, employment law. This is where fairness gets kind of baked into the system, covering the whole employer-employee relationship.
Yeah, and it starts with the basics, really. Pay and hours. Businesses have to pay the national minimum wage, the NMW, or the national living wage, the NLW. Depends on the employee's age. There's a little nuance there, though. The NLW, the higher rate, it's mandatory, only for those aged 23 and over currently. So it's effectively an age-based tier system businesses have to get right.
And hours. Everyone knows about holiday pay, but what about the actual limits on the working week?
So working hours are covered by the working time regulations. Employees get rest breaks, paid holidays, obviously. And generally, the working week is capped at 48 hours on average.
But hang on, don't loads of people, especially professionals, just sign an opt-out agreement for that 48-hour limit? Does it actually mean anything anymore?
It does still have teeth, yeah. While the opt-out is common, it absolutely must be voluntary. It has to be agreed in writing, individually. And crucially, the employee can cancel that opt-out whenever they want, usually just by giving 7 days notice. So for the employer, managing those opt-outs properly is really important. If the sources show one thing, it's that relying too much on long hours, even if you have opt-outs, just increases the risk of burnout, maybe claims later on. It pushes up your operational costs in the long run.
And you mentioned earlier, fairness goes beyond just time and money. It's right into preventing discrimination.
That's the big job of the Equality Act 2010. It protects workers based on 9 specific protected characteristics: age, gender, race, disability, religion, sexual orientation, marriage, pregnancy. The real challenge for businesses isn't just avoiding obvious direct discrimination, it's spotting and avoiding indirect discrimination. That's where a policy looks neutral on the surface, but in practice, it disproportionately disadvantages people from a protected group.
Like, if a company insisted everyone had to work on a specific religious holiday, that seems neutral but obviously isn't for everyone.
Exactly that kind of thing. Perfect example. And finally, when the job does end, employment law dictates the rules for fair dismissal and redundancy. It requires proper notice periods, redundancy pay in certain situations. The whole aim is to make sure the process is fair, whatever the outcome, to try and head off unfair treatment claims.
Okay, let's switch gears completely now. We've looked at internal safety and fairness. Now let's think about external compliance, protecting the customer out in the marketplace. This is mainly driven by the Consumer Rights Act 2015, setting standards for goods and services.
Yeah, this is probably one of the most relevant bits of law for everyone listening, because it defines what you're legally entitled to pretty much every time you buy something.
We should definitely highlight the 4 key rights every customer has. Okay, number 1, the right to goods of satisfactory quality.
And satisfactory quality is quite contextual, isn't it? It doesn't mean perfection. It means the product should be free from minor defects, safe, last a reasonable amount of time considering the price you paid and how it was described. So, a cheap kettle isn't expected to last like a top-of-the-range one.
Okay. Number 2, the right to fit-for-purpose products. I think people sometimes mix this up with satisfactory quality, but they're different.
They are distinct, yeah. Satisfactory quality is about the item's condition, its inherent state. Fit for purpose is about whether it does the job it's supposed to do or the job you specifically asked for. So if you tell a shop assistant you need boots specifically for hiking up mountains, and they sell you fashion boots, those fashion boots might be of satisfactory quality, perfect condition, but they are not fit for that specific purpose you stated.
Got it. Right. Number 3, the right to goods as described. Pretty straightforward, this one.
It should be. If the label says 100% cotton, it better be 100% cotton. It links back to avoiding misleading advertising or descriptions.
And the final one, number 4, the right to fair pricing.
Yes, transparency is key here. Prices must be clear, honest, not misleading, no hidden charges popping up at the end, that sort of thing.
Okay, so let's take a practical example. I buy something, say a new phone, and it develops a clear fault after maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah.
What's the immediate rule I need to know as a consumer?
The crucial time frame is the first 30 days. If a fault appears within that initial month, you, the consumer, are legally entitled to a full refund. The business can't just insist on repairing it first within those 30 days. After 30 days, yes, they generally get the chance to offer a repair or a replacement first. But that initial 30-day short-term right to reject is a really powerful protection. Crucial for everyone to know.
And for all of us shopping online, which is, well, almost everything now, there's extra protection.
There is, through the consumer contracts regulations. These give you that vital 14-day cooling-off period for most online purchases. It means you can cancel the order and get a full refund, usually within 14 days of receiving the goods, even if there's nothing wrong with it, simply because you changed your mind. It's designed to make up for the fact you couldn't physically see or handle the item before buying.
So the message seems to be, get your consumer compliance right. Build trust. Get it wrong. You don't just risk a fine, you could lose customers for good.
Which leads us nicely into that final piece, the cost versus the benefit.
Right. We've laid out all these rules: health and safety, minimum wage, Equality Act, detailed consumer rights. It sounds like it requires, well, significant investment up front. So what does it all actually mean for the bottom line? Compliance definitely comes with real, tangible costs.
Yeah, we can sort of put them into three buckets, can't we? First, the obvious financial costs. That's paying for staff training on quality law, buying safety gear, maybe hiring legal experts to check contracts. Second, there's the administrative burden, all the record keeping, the paperwork the HSE might need, compliance tasks that take time away from, making money.
And thirdly, I suppose, operational costs. Sometimes doing things by the book might slow things down a bit.
It can feel like that, yes. Compliance often dictates certain processes. You might have to pause production for safety checks or spend time on admin. It can seem like it slows down efficiency, certainly in the short term.
But that feeling, that perceived inefficiency, leads to the big tension, doesn't it? The argument that not complying is actually far riskier and ultimately more expensive.
Almost always, yes. Ignoring the rules. The potential cost is just so much greater than the cost of complying.
Let's go beyond just the fines, which can be huge. What's the real, maybe hidden cost of getting compliance badly wrong?
It's the recovery cost, isn't it? Neglecting laws leads to those massive fines, sure, and maybe years of legal fees defending claims, potentially even being forced to close. But the truly damaging long-term cost, the one that's hard to put a number on, is the complete erosion of trust. Think about it. One serious safety failing can absolutely destroy employee morale. You see spikes in sick days, people leaving. So you're constantly spending money retraining, rebuilding your team. That's a massive hidden expense. And externally, if your brand gets known for breaching consumer